good. Shoots my ammo and he probably should. Tearing gas filled neighborhood in the land of the free. Life is good. He's always shooting down in the woods. He probably wouldn't do it if he could. 'Cause life is good. He wouldn't leave it even if he could. 'Cause life is good. Life is.
Yeah, Hickok 45 coming to you from the beautiful hills of Middle Tennessee, the home of Jack Daniels. Yes, Jack Daniels, not all that far from me. I can smell the hickory, the whiskey. Nah, not quite, not quite. Not a big whiskey drinker, but we're proud of Jack Daniels. Yes, glad you came out this hot day. Yeah, imagine that. July in, let's see, what month is it? There's a bug on the lens there, it looks like. The month of July, yeah. Hot day in the month of July. What an unusual thing to have happen, yeah. That's one of the least unusual things, right, these days. Because everything is unusual, almost. So we're still trying to figure out what's usual, what's unusual, what's normal, what's not normal. And that's where we are. And we do not want those of us with sense, I'll include myself in that category, I guess, reluctantly, but those of us with a little bit of common sense, we don't want a new normal. We want to get rid of this new normal. And that's what we're a little bit afraid of, aren't we? That there are just too many people almost seeming to enjoy this. It's like their ultimate kumbaya moment. You know, let's all mask up and hold hands and sit in a circle. And maybe we'll even wear jumpsuits and zip them up and put helmets on so nothing can get to us. But we'll get in a circle and we'll hug. We'll feel so good about ourselves and so bad. And, you know, for those people who don't wear the jumpsuits and the helmets or whatever the next step might be that they suggest, right? Oh no, not to make too light of it again. It's not a hoax, and it's real, and it's just you know, you just have to. What do you have to do? Well, you don't have to listen to everybody, and you do your own research and look at the facts, and you look at the people who are trying to seemingly fudge the numbers and things like that, and the people, which is almost everybody, seems to have an agenda and seems to be inclined, for whatever reasons, more money, more attention, I don't know, to make things even worse than they really are, okay? And they are bad, yeah, so, but you know, that's one of the things I was going to talk about a little bit is that business of crying wolf, because that's what you get into when people lose their credibility. You really do. Credibility, you know, crying wolf is, boy, it just kills credibility. It really does. And before I get into that, don't let me forget that thought. You notice I got the M4 out. Yes, that's what I was shooting. I even put some slugs in for a couple of rounds there. I'm going to put some more birdshot in. But I've been shooting it this week some, and you'll see it maybe. In the movies, you'll see it in a video. Hey, guess what? You're seeing it today in a video, right? And I forget how much I like this thing. The more I shoot it, the more I handle it, the Benelli M4, the more I like it, okay? And you know, I'm a kind of a pump shotgun sort of guy. I think that's my first love. And put safety on. But man, for a semi-auto, this thing is a jewel. It ain't cheap. But I think the military should take a look at it, to tell you the truth. Oh wait, they did, didn't they? About 20 years ago. And I think still using it. It has proven itself to be a pretty good shotgun. And speaking of credibility, it has a lot of credibility. So let's take up the chrome plate, the nickel plate, and whatever they're doing with it, and it's just done the way it's done. But that was one of the things you would see. Many of you are interested in military surplus firearms, as am I, and you hear me talking about that occasionally. If it's depending on what the rifle is or handgun, usually it's a rifle. It seems like if it was made during World War II, there may have been some corners cut, because guess what? They're at war. We're at war. We got to get this thing made. I don't know that we did that on too many guns, but I think of the Mauser, in the various stages, pre-war, and then, in 1940, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, there were little things that they changed, like going from milled barrel bands to stamped barrel bands, different things like that. They don't really affect, the accuracy or even the effectiveness, the whatever of the gun. I've got them with both. It's kind of like a stamped receiver on an AK versus a milled receiver. Really no difference to speak of, and reliability, durability, and all that kind of thing. But anyway, how to get off on all that. So I was going to talk a little bit about confidence. That is one of the things that as I pontificate, philosophize to you young people, you really want to establish your credibility. I've talked about that before. Your word, as they used to call it. I give you my word. There are times and places where if you told somebody, I give you my word, I'm going to do that, that really meant with everything in my being, in other words, everything I am worth in terms of whatever credibility I have, I am putting it on the line and telling you I will do that. I will be there, or whatever it is. I will pay you back, or whatever it might be. Hence the phrase, person's as good as his word, because your word is a true reflection of you, and so, when you run around crying wolf, or you may not be familiar with that, but hollering. It was to go back to, is it Aesop's fable? I don't know. Anyway, the little boy who runs crying wolf gets a lot of attention for saying there's a wolf, I guess, in the sheep or whatever, and there's not. And I think does it a second time, wolf, wolf, what? No wolf. Third time, there is a wolf. Nobody believes him. Yeah, it happens, doesn't it? Well, that's kind of the thing when you exaggerate things and you talk in extremes, emotion. It's just hard to get. You don't get any credibility out of that. Believability. You know what credibility means? Believability and everything. And what reminded me of this too is I just a couple of times in the last day or two I've seen somebody being interviewed. I mentioned this before. They're not interviewed. They're the news reporter somewhere. They're on the street somewhere. There's not anybody around. There's not even anybody behind them. And they're talking through a stupid mask. It's like, give me a break. Give me a break. I guess they're trying to send the message that everybody should always be wearing a mask, whether anybody's around them or not. I started to wear one today. I got a cool one the other day. It's got, I meant to bring it over here. It's got AR-15s and AKs on it. So that's the one I'm going to reserve to wear if I have to go to Whole Foods, or somewhere like that. And you all that know Whole Foods know what I'm talking about, okay? I don't even have an NRA hat. I need one of those NRA hats with the big letters on it. I've never really worn those. Again, I'm a member. I've been a supporter of the NRA. Now we're all kind of watching the NRA in limbo, sort of on that. But if I had one of those NRA in big letters, I would just leave it in the car and I would wear it into Whole Foods, maybe with that mask with AR-15s on it and AKs. Because it's a jewel. It's white, and it has in black, nothing on it except that. So I got another one I'd order too. I got all these on Amazon. I found them. It's come and take it, and it's got an AK or an AR on it, whatever. But I wear a gator neck thing most of the time if I'm in Nashville. Then pull it up if I need to. If I'm threatened with arrest, no, I wear it. Now, like I say, it's a real deal. It really is, and it's just that is it back to credibility? Is it as bad, everywhere, as it's made out to be? It is bad in some places, and it's not so bad in others, and all that. But anyway, people that exaggerate things, they lose their credibility, and whenever they make a bigger deal out of something than it is, and they're doing that, where they're fudging the numbers, and we've talked about that with hospitalizations and different things, cases, hospitalization. My wife was looking up on her phone online the other day. We were driving somewhere and trying to figure out how many hospitalizations there are in, I think it was Nashville, maybe Tennessee, but Nashville. Finally came up with a number. I don't know, 1,800 or whatever the number was, 1,000 something, 2,000, 14,000 or whatever it was, the hospitalizations. Kept digging through, digging. I said, wow, oh, finally, down deep into this information. It's just, that's the total hospitalization since the beginning of this thing, not how many people are in the hospital now. And that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. There seems to be a reluctance to that. Now you can dig it out and find it, but the rate of hospitalization. How many people went into the hospital yesterday with it? How many new people went in today? That sort of thing, because that's kind of on a downward trend, just like deaths and things in most places. And just don't want to show us that. Don't want to lead with that. All they want to lead with are cases. Well, yeah, what the cases tell me? I mean, if there are a lot of cases, it tells me, yeah, that virus is out there in a lot of places. A lot of people have it, and I might get it, I guess. But I'm more interested, again, how many people are sick and kind of who they are, and how many get really sick, how many get sick enough to go to the hospital. Yesterday versus today versus next Tuesday. That's the kind of information I'm interested in, not the wolf crying, so to speak. Okay, because we all need accurate information so we can make decisions based on that. And get away from virtue signaling and all that stupid stuff, and deal with the real world in a realistic way. Because we tend to believe people who seem to know what they're talking about. Another key point, right? We seem to believe people. I can't remember which philosopher it was. It was there's a book maybe some of you are familiar with. I read years ago. The Denial of Death. It's called, by Ernest Becker. And it's not about like what it sounds like. Okay, it's not some stupid self-help. Well, self-help books are not necessarily stupid, but I mean it's not some shallow self-help book. But Ernest Becker, really smart guy. Somebody recommended it to me, and I read it. I read it a couple, 3 times, I think, back in the 80s, 90s. And I don't remember which philosopher or person, social scientist or whoever he was quoting, but Kierkegaard, I think. But he had this phrase, the magic of the unconflicted person. And he talked about the magic of the unconflicted person. Someone who is seemingly not in conflict at all. They're just very confident and even charismatic, meaning they have a lot of personality and can convince you of things. They're just so certain. Kind of gets back to a deep woods thought I saw online on YouTube recently. Some guy will go walking in the woods and just say things that are extremely profound, just brilliant. I mean, I don't know, the guy's IQ must be off the map, off the scale, really. But it's deep woods thought, and it was his most recent one, I think, where he talked about that, how fools and fanatics always seem to be the most certain about things and have the most confidence, So it kind of relates to that guy. Look him up, I forget his name. But yeah, the unconflicted person, people who really seem to know what they're talking about. They speak with credibility, at least the tone, okay? Now, who is it that, back to my media, ongoing media instruction to you young people especially, in journalism school, especially, what would you call it, television journalism, I guess, that is probably the number one priority. You need to, if you don't seem to have credibility when you speak in front of the camera. I'm sure they work on that a lot, just like they would in a seminary if you want to be a preacher. Because, I mean, think about it. You get up on the pulpit, or you get behind the camera on the evening news, whatever, as though that's a thing anymore, right? Who watches the evening news? but you need to seem so correct in everything that you say. If you just mumble around, ramble like I do, or then you lose some of that credibility. So there's a certain tone that is actually taught and practiced. There's a certain tone, inflections, and everything that make people, help cause people to believe you. And, whatever you say is true. Or the gospel, literally, right? So you know what I'm talking about. I'm going the long way around the barn, but anyway, that magic of the unconflicted person. Think about people you know. Think about groups of friends or kids in the neighborhood, at school, at college, wherever you hang out, whatever you do, whatever your age is. The people who kind of command the room, or people listen to, even if they don't always know what they're talking about, they just seem to have that magic. They're not conflicted. They know what should be done. Even if it's a wrong thing, they know what should be done. And so we always have to be careful of that. That's the lesson here, the bottom line. Falling for that, believing people, putting too much stock in what somebody says because they seem so credible. They speak so well. They are so handsome or gorgeous, right? How could I not believe anything Cindy Crawford tells me, right? I mean, I'm just going to believe it. Yes, Cindy, whatever you say. Really, how many ugly people do you see in front of the camera other than, on YouTube, right? On TV. How many ugly people do you see on the evening news or on Fox or CNN or anywhere? I guess the guys are handsome. I'll take your word for it. But all the women, for the most part, are gorgeous. And then by the time they have the makeup artists work on them, they're really gorgeous. So I believe everything they tell me. But yeah, and they seem so confident, right? Reading that prompter, right? But I'm not talking about reading a prompter necessarily, just people who seem to be so certain about things. Got to watch that, don't we? Watch for those fools and those fanatics. It's also an issue with firearms too. If can I load this while I'm yakking at you? Because I really am going to try not to go quite as long today. I've got a lot going on this week, and I may go on a short trip, some different things. But most of you have seen this if you're into firearms and have been into them. You don't have to be into them very long, because if you've been in a gun shop, depending on the gun shops are better about that now, most of them. But there's always the person in there. Usually, probably most often, it's just somebody hanging out in there. It's not necessarily somebody working there. Most of them are learning their lessons about being too dogmatic about recommendations and things, right? Now, I think one thing that's helped that a lot, it just occurred to me, is probably the fact that so many women are getting into shooting and into firearms. And boy, can you really step in it. You talk about being sexist or just stereotyping. Yeah, if you're working in a gun shop and a lady comes in there looking for a firearm, if I were female, and well, there's something I could tell you, but I used to be, well, I'll get into another video, right? No, if I were female and I had even the small amount of common sense I have, I went into a gun shop thinking about a new gun or maybe my first firearm or whatever, and they directed me to a little revolver with pink grips on it right away. That wouldn't go over so well with me. Now, it could be that that's exactly what the lady, whatever, my hypothetical lady wants. but boy, that'd be a no-no. That would really be a no-no. You want to ask a lot of questions, right? That's the reason I can't help you all as much as maybe you'd like sometimes. If you send me a message and if I even see it, and it's like me asking you. I ain't bought a car yet. Let's say I ain't bought a car for 20 years, maybe. Then I say, what car should I buy? What kind of car should I buy? I don't know. Where should I go out to eat tonight? I don't know. All those questions bring on about at least 20 other questions before you can even give a valid answer, right? Like with a gun. Well, I don't know. What was your purpose for the gun? You plan to carry it? Where are you going to carry it? Do you have a carry permit? Is it for home defense and for carry? Is it you want a range gun? Have you shot before? What experience do you have? If any, what have you shot before? How do you handle recoil if you have? Do you know about a revolver, semi-automatic? Have you ever tried those? Do you have enough strength to pull back the slide on I mean, there's a million questions before you can even start to answer, right? So I can't get into that with a million people, of course. That's the issue there. So anyway, it's not a situation where someone comes to the gun shop, whether female or male, or some other gender, and just start recommending firearms, can you? And I can't either. I can tell you some firearms that work for me and that I like and that you ought to buy, right? But it's just not that simple. Not quite that simple. All right. But anyway, that business with just being so certain and always knowing the answer and being unconflicted about which gun a person ought to buy, that's rampant within the firearms community. And now that I think about it, it's probably less common in a good gun shop than it is at the range and just amongst us shooters. We're the ones who are so adamant and so confident about what people should be buying and all that. And the old a little learning is a dangerous thing. Alexander Pope. We're all guilty of that. When someone has worked in a gun shop for a while, they've kind of been bitten by that, or they hopefully the management has given them a little training and realizing the proper process to go through when someone comes in looking for their first firearm, and the questions to ask and how not to just automatically assume what a person ought to buy, right? Okay, I just put slugs in case you didn't notice. How about another bowling pin? Yeah, I tell you, I'm a pump guy, but I could fall in love with this. I really like it. Good old shotgun. Man, it's a nice one. So what have I forgotten to talk about? Anything that I was going to talk about? But anyway, just watch out for false confidence for people who really are confident. But yeah, does that mean I need to believe in them? Because the people who, well, think about it, people who actually have an agenda, they can be the worst about that. They have the most to gain if they have some agenda to appear the most intelligent or have all the answers. If they have something they're selling you, right? As I've said before, we're kind of selling you on the Second Amendment mainly. Don't care what guns you buy, not at all. But just want you to be into shooting, and we're about showing you that. And of course, we want people to come and see our videos and find out what handsome guy I am, how brilliant I am, and all that. But we're not really selling you anything. We hope you support our sponsors because that keeps it going. But if I were like a Benelli representative, for example, Glock representative, like people think I am, I would need to work on that, wouldn't I? I would need to speak with authority of the Benelli line of shotguns and other firearms, and other produced and how your life would be more complete if you had one of these, and I would just need to work on my credibility in that area, right? So anyway, just something we got to watch for, and it relates to everything, whether it's the virus, guns, you name it. Where you go to school. Oh my gosh, if you're trying to pick out a college, is anybody still going to college? Anybody still planning to go? It is funny. College, there's another thing I didn't plan to talk about, but I had a little bit of insight into. I taught middle school for a long time, and I went to a state school. My issue was I was just good enough in basketball in high school. I started late, like when I was a junior, and I guess it would have been scary if I had been playing for like 5-6 years, because I did develop fairly quickly because I really worked at it, but I just hadn't played prior to that, and I continued developing when I got to college, and really became the wonderful, great LeBron James that I was when I was maybe a junior or whatever, sophomore, junior in college. That's I don't know if I ever really peaked out, but I got to where I could play pretty well. I've told you before, I had averaged a double-double, and all that in a small college. So I wasn't a bench warmer. And in fact, I played almost every minute of every game unless I was injured, and so I was out there a lot and I played a lot. But I wasn't, I didn't play at Kentucky or anything like that. But now I forgot where I was going with that. Let me pull my hair. Remember my minute here. Yeah, I kind of lost it. I really did. I was going somewhere with that, and I got off on basketball. And what was I talking about? Oh yeah, it's not in my notes because I was talking about picking schools. That's right, and how I got a little bit of insight into that when I was teaching middle school. We even have teachers where I taught that had. That's why I got off on the way to a state school. We would have teachers that went to Vanderbilt, got their degree from Vanderbilt, which is very, very expensive. And I remember one guy in particular that was teaching with me. He was a young guy, came on board, and he coached, did some coaching. Kids liked him, and overheard some kids talking about him. Wow, I mean, they weren't calling him an idiot or anything. They liked him. He was a good guy, but they were just like perplexed. Why would he go to Vanderbilt to be a teacher? And it was funny. I heard them talking amongst themselves, and they were all just kind of perplexed about that. Why would anybody do that? Because I don't know what it costs now to get through Vanderbilt. I don't know, $60,000 a year or something. I don't know what it is. But you do the math on that, and what it would take to get a degree at Vanderbilt or Duke or any of your really expensive colleges today, universities I don't keep up with. I was going to take some graduate courses at Vanderbilt because it's fairly close one time, and to keep up my certification, everything. I went over the admissions. So I got all the material and was really, I'll take that at Vanderbilt. I might even do my whole master's here, and in the per hour expense, and I was teaching at the time, so I didn't have a lot of extra money. Yeah, I was like, wow, it was like unbelievable. I forgot what the numbers were now, but I don't think so, But anyway, the same kind of thing. You get people telling you what school you should go to, and what college you should go to, and what are the best colleges and the best schools and everything, and even in that is really suspect. Everybody has the same books in their library. And the professors at one college are generally not any better teachers. In fact, they can be worse teachers. I heard some people, this sounds like patting myself on the back or my own choices on the back, but I remember a person that transferred to Austin Peay, where I went in the English department, and had been at Vanderbilt, for example, and he just loved it at Austin Peay. It's kind of a small school and just a great department. I knew the professors personally and everything, and this person was having a similar experience, and just great teachers, professors, Instead, at Vanderbilt, he just didn't have that feeling. And a couple of courses he really was interested in, they were taught by teaching assistants and some different things, and they weren't as good, and they weren't. He just preferred, So you don't necessarily, and I'm not bashing Vanderbilt; it's a great school, but there are people who just know where you should go to school. Having taught in private high schools, middle schools, boy, you talk about the snobbery that I have seen. Now, most people are not snobs just because it's a private school. A lot of people put their kids in private schools. You don't have to be rich to put your kids in private school. You got to have a decent job, probably, right? But I'm talking about from the administration and some people in private schools, mostly to promote the school, of course. But oh my gosh, I have wanted to gag so many times hearing people brag about, oh, where some of our graduates have gone off to college, and naming those schools as if there was just no need to even go to college if you're not at Harvard or Stanford or Vanderbilt or somewhere, And so there are just so many people who think they know how the world works and what is best, and they are full of confidence, right? And sometimes they're very charismatic. You know what charismatic means? That's someone who is very convincing, very likable. Okay, in a way that just makes you believe whatever they're saying. And again, that's what you want in a news person, a preacher or whatever, YouTuber, right? But anyway, enough on that. It is one of my. It's not a pet peeve, but it is something. It's all part of media, being influenced, how we're influenced, what goes into our head, whether I'm influenced by these trees or what someone says to me, and it helps change the course of my life, something that I'm thinking about doing, because we really rely on what people tell us, what we read, what we see on the tube or on the television, and what people who seemingly know what they're talking about tell us. So we got to be careful of that. There's a lot of idiots who can speak well. Yeah, here I am talking about myself. Well, I don't know if I speak well, but there's just a lot of people who can be very convincing or very likable that we got to be careful of. Just got to be careful of. Some of the worst serial killers. There's no telling where I'll go, right? A branch off of this. The worst serial killers, some of the most effective ones, Ted Bundy or whatever, were very likable people. The last person that you'd ever, suspect. Same with like child molesters and that kind of thing. We always think of that creepy person. You see, I don't know. You see someone and you think, there's a creepy, scary person. Well, it's more likely, somebody that looks like somebody you work with, right? Somebody in a professional job, that kind of thing. So you just can't always believe people. You don't really know who they are and what their agenda might be. Okay, keep that in mind. Keep it in mind. Not that you should distrust everybody, right? We can't go around doing that. As you get older, young people, I don't want to be negative, overly negative. If you're young and watching me, hearing what I'm saying, the older you get, the more of you can rely on your gut feeling. You ever just get that little funny feeling in the back of your neck? We call that kind of a gut feeling about people or about something somebody says. I don't know, that doesn't seem right, or there's something about that person that doesn't seem genuine or whatever. I think the older you get, the more you see that. I always felt like I was doing my students a favor by testing their gullibility so regularly, in a fun sort of way, like I do you all, right? Like telling you a gun shop owner in Clarksville made a special request to take a high point to Iraq and have that as his carry sidearm, right? Remember that video? Well, a lot of people didn't get that joke, that they just fell for in fact, I saw a comment recently about it, I like to have fun with people. But it was always interesting with my students because most of them would get my silly stuff, testing their gullibility, but some would not. some just like some of you, they would not at all. So I felt like the 9 months I had that group of students, I was achieving something else there other than just teaching them what a verbal is, right, or how to write an essay. To be careful what you believe just right away, you know. So enough on that. Enough on that. Be your own person, man. Be your own person. Can I shoot one more time before maybe I let you go? What should I shoot? How about, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to machine gun this thing. Is that okay? I'm going to put some birdshot in it. I hope you're finding some ammo. I know it's just tough. Like I said, we're not just trying to go through all the ammo we can. I try to plan ahead, you know, with federal and then my own personal ammo that I have to buy for various things. Maybe, you know, it's only a few that federal doesn't load for. But, you know, continue what we're doing, but not go crazy. Federal's being good to us. And again, I plan ahead. I wasn't born yesterday. And I've seen these shortages come and go every, whatever, couple years, 3 years. For whatever reason, it happens over and over again. Let's shoot something. All right, how about that bucket? I forgot I was going to machine gun a little bit. So that's pretty neat. That's a pretty neat shotgun. You can shoot fast or you can shoot slow, whatever your preference is. And it seems pretty accurate with slugs. I kind of like it. I think if I had to go to war tomorrow, I don't know, I'd probably still take my 590 A1 pump Mossberg, I guess, or my 870. But you never know. Depends on what war it is and who's against. All right, well, any other silliness I was going to talk to you about before I let you go. So, hope you're getting your life together here during this crazy period. You know, if one advantage of it is, I thought about, it is a chance, you know, it's a little bit of a slowdown for a lot of people. You get a chance to kind of reassess what you're doing, maybe study up on some things. Maybe you were thinking about changing careers anyway, and maybe your job doesn't look quite as inviting as it once did for whatever reason, or you just absolutely lost it, or that career is apparently going away because of the virus or whatever it might be. But so, you know, it's a kind of a downtime period for a lot of people. For a lot of people, it's not. But maybe you have some downtime and you kind of reassess. Maybe you do want to go back to school. Be sure you go to the right school or you'll be a dummy after you get out, right? That was an allusion to what I said earlier. That was not me being me. But yeah, everybody's going through something different right now. It hasn't changed dramatically, you know, for me. But it's just weird. It is just weird. It's like you, I'm just kind of weary of it, you know. After month after month after month, you know, we thought this was going to maybe go away in the summer, and gotten worse in a lot of places. So I know that a lot of you are really weary of it. Again, you don't have a place to go out and shoot and hang out like this, but you know, I like going out to eat and everything. I still do it, but it's just weird. And yeah, one of your favorite restaurant, and they want you to wear a mask into your table. I was somewhere recently. You may take your mask off once you get your food. Yeah, I said, yeah, right. As soon as I sit down, I take my mask off. Sorry, but I mean, you know, it's just bizarre. And then the thing it's done that I guess is irritating to all of us is we don't like being told what to do. Nobody does. And there are people telling us what to do that we're not elected, or it's one person, and so that rubs us the wrong way. Or it's just somebody who's in charge of some store or some building or whatever, so they kind of can do what they want to, and they get a little carried away with their authority and don't think it through, and it doesn't matter. It's their business, and yeah, that's right, but they come up with stupid ideas, you know, or they're just carrying out, you know, what the governor said without thinking for themselves, or mayor. or whatever that might be. Uh, I, that is just a kind of a phenomenon that takes place sometimes when you have things like this that happen. I'd like to see us kind of build in a system for this. I would like to have a committee of people make some of these decisions, elected people, but in all cases, I've seen that in the world of technology. I've been involved in technology since the early days, believe it or not, and I tell you, within a company, and you still see this, but within a company or a school, any kind of organization, whoever the IT people are, yeah, this was even more true back 10, 15, 20 years ago, 30, but it still is to some extent. Whoever the IT persons are, the experts in the system you're using, the computers and what software you're using and within your company and all that kind of thing, they really are the dictators in a lot of ways and always have been. Yeah. And I was at odds a little bit with some of those folks in IT because I was not an IT person and not in charge of what goes on, like in the school building or the company. But I was into it early, and I was not as knowledgeable as they were, but I was maybe a lot more knowledgeable than the people I was working with, doing whatever I was doing. And I was aware of software and different things we could be doing and using. And so things that were dictated, that I either knew I thought a way that was better, or this was really awkward. Why are we doing this? Whereas a lot of people that I didn't know, they didn't even care. They didn't even want to use a computer at that time, or whatever. They were still just mad because they had to use a computer or a laptop. But I was to the point where I knew I was already doing a lot of the stuff that we were doing, and so I didn't have any giant fights or anything, but it's just the way it is. Whoever's the most knowledgeable, especially in IT, because they know a lot about that certain area. They are the nerds, right? But it's one area where the nerds run the company to some extent because everybody uses that computer, the software, the system, whether it's just inputting information, whatever it is. And people all through the company are at their beck and call and their whim, whatever they choose, however to input this data, or whatever it might be, or wherever these reports need to go and however they have to be formulated and sent where and done this or whatever. They're the ones who decide what software they're going to use and how it's done. It's not always necessarily the best, but they are the dictators, of that situation. And so we have some of that, going on, I guess, right now. You get just a couple of people in a state determining how your life is run everywhere you go almost right now, every business you go into. So none of us really likes that, but I don't know. It's a real deal, but there's just a lot of people with agendas, and we can't help but just naturally resent and not necessarily believe everything, because we've been shown that some of these folks running our lives right now have agendas, and they've been caught, haven't they? Some have been caught with those agendas. So we'll see how it goes. Maybe it'll get a lot better within a few months. Okay? So what else can I lie to you about? It's been good to talk to you. And this is Sunday 30. Sunday shoot around 30. Is that amazing? 30 weeks been doing this. And I appreciate y'all coming around, every Sunday morning and checking in. Okay? This gun I've been shooting this week. Been shooting I'm going to let you go. Been shooting the gun you saw last week. The Seiko, can think of it. The Seiko in 270. I've shot it a fair amount. Man, I like it. I think I might have to have one of those. I'm going to go over tomorrow, rob a local bank, and just buy one, I think. I was looking them up some more. The 6.5 Swede, I think, is what I'd get it in. And I'm tempted on that carbine. I don't know. I know it's weird looking to some of you. The full length stock, I don't think they do a full-length stock on the full-length rifle, but the carbine in 22.5 inches roughly with that full stock, I remember picking that one up at SHOT Show too. It's even more expensive than the rifle, but it's just a neat gun, unique and smooth, and I like it. Yeah, you could tell, couldn't you? But anyway, what else we've been shooting? Oh man, handgun of some kind. We did a video with a handgun. I can't remember what it was. I just shoot too much. Pretty sad, huh? Kind of like I was telling you last week. When I catch myself having trouble finding one of my guns, I just slap myself silly if I start getting frustrated about that. But we shoot so much, I almost forget what firearms I fired this week, and that's a good situation to have, isn't it? That's a good problem to have. Yeah. So a little brain fade sometimes, like I had during this video when I got off track. What was it about the colleges, where I was going with that. It happens. I should edit these videos. You see, most people edit, even the talking videos, and so they edit out the stupidity. Yeah. I could edit out some of that, and I would appear so much more brilliant. Yeah. I could be one of those people, those charismatic presenters, like a good preacher or a newscaster with incredible amounts of credibility that you would always believe. Yeah, I could. But I don't really care. No, I'm really impressed with you all, our viewership, as I have said. My ears are stopped before, and I mean it, that you don't have to have so much glitz and slickness in videos, and you keep coming back. That to me, that I really am impressed with you, because you're kind of interested in the guns and that sort of thing, not just slickness. And I people will write and say things they don't agree with, but they really like this, and this. I mean, you there are things you don't like, but then there are things you like and all that, and that's of course natural. But from some of those comments, I glean how you are not looking necessarily for the slickest presentation, and which I like, because I'm not looking for a slick presentation. I'm just, when I'm looking at videos, YouTube videos or anything, I enjoy just kind of some real information, from real people. I like TV shows like that. When I watch TV shows, I'm going back through Longmire, for example. I know that's an old guy show, but, well, it's a good show. It's not really an old guy show on Netflix. If you haven't seen Longmire, it's just well done. But it's just one example of TV has gotten better with all the options that we've had. We talked about Breaking Bad, Yellowstone, different things like that. In your typical, I don't know, primetime TV show, especially a network or some kind of thing, it's got to be boom, 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 and they probably check the ratings like per every 5 seconds. Who's tuned out? Who's tuned in? Who's staying with it? All that kind of stuff. Like, you can get all that data, of course, on YouTube, and but which we pretty much ignore. But one thing that's impressive about those shows is they don't hesitate to show, like, present kind of real moments where somebody says something and it's just a pause. It's just a reflective moment, and there's nothing happening. They're not afraid to have dead air. They're not afraid to have a 3 or 4 minute segment, or a segment of whatever length, where something dramatic is not going on. Somebody's not even saying something all that dramatic, maybe, but it's just more real. You feel like you're there, and so that's an improvement. I like that. I am not impressed with slick. Let's put it that way. Could have said that a lot more concisely, couldn't I? I'm glad you came out today. I am going to let you go. I'm going to make you leave. I'm sorry. I might shoot a little more, but I'm going to make you leave. I think you've been here long enough that you might have picked up a couple of ticks, because I do. If I don't spray really well, and use my Avon lotion. If you're familiar with Avon, it's a we smell very good in the woods, but it's an anti-tick, mosquito lotion, actually, whatever. Skin softener, I don't know, different variations of it. But I lather up pretty well and spray, and so I don't pick them up very often. But I tell you what, if I don't, and I'm in the woods looking for an arrow or something, I'll have a tick on me, or little ticks. Maybe one stuck, maybe one not. You know, they're after my blood. There's probably about 1,000 of them right here in the trees and the bushes and the leaves. They're out here right now looking at me from all different directions, just lusting for my blood. Yeah, that's probably not a joke. They probably are. They're watching me, hoping I will walk under their leaf. I will rub against their leaf on the trail, or I will rake my foot across that blade of grass. And they are experts at jumping off and getting on my foot, my leg, my head, my shoulder. They really are. They are smart little characters. So I hope you didn't pick up too many of them. I think maybe depending on where you live, you might not have picked any up. Okay. So I'll see you next week, and I hope, at least I hope I will, and I hope you'll see me next week. None of us knows when that day will come that we won't be seeing anybody, right? That's why we have to enjoy it while we're here, okay? Because while we're here, guess what? Yep, life is good.